What's up, YouTube fans? Today we're going to take a look at the 01 Studio Boardcon, or their version of a masterpiece scale broadside. I picked this up for myself. I'm kind of a weird nut when it comes to broadsides. Every year I've bought or customized a broadside for myself. But I was excited for this one because it's the first masterpiece scale transformable broadside. And masterpiece scale is arguable because, the alt mode, he was all over the place in the cartoon. But either way, I was excited. This is the sixth figure from 01 Studio, who either broke off from Zeta Toys or is the same company as Zeta Toys. They originally changed their name when they released 01 Studio Cell, their version of Unicron, because they were having some issues with the HasLab Unicron, right? And so they changed their name. Then they put out the number 2 was their Seed, their version of Primus, which I also own that. Then they put out their number 3, which is their Constructicons. And so far we've gotten their Scrapper, Long Haul, and soon we're getting their Hook. There's no number 4 or number 5 in the lineup yet, so they probably have reserved those numbers for other figures. And at this moment, I can't remember what they are. But this is number 6, and I've liked some of their stuff. It's just their transformations have been a nightmare, especially for the Unicron and Primus. Those planet modes were such a nightmare. I'm happy to say this one is not a nightmare. It's actually pretty well engineered. Let's take a quick look around the figure. You got the iconic, cockpit on the chest, white head, silver mouth plate, and translucent blue eyes. I do wish the eyes were painted metallic blue. I'll probably just do that myself, but they do light up. I'll show you that feature in a bit. You got the detail here on the bottom of the legs. It's sculpted in. That looks really good. Black paint for the toes, and you'll see that turns into the boosters later. On the side, you have the wings kind of collapsed on his leg, which are accurate. These are mistransformed out of the box. So I did show how to get the legs and arms extended in the boxing, but one thing I didn't show is this is actually mistransformed. So you can open this up, rotate this around, rotate this to the back, bring this back. You'll see it tabs in now. The other way it didn't actually tab in, and then bring this to the front, and now you have that tabbed in. That's not going anywhere. Here's the back. You do have die cast here. There is quite a bit of die cast mostly for hardware, like these leg joints, also the thigh joints, and we'll fix this one as well. Open this up, rotate this around, flip this to the other side, and we'll tab this back in. And now we are set for combined mode. Not robot mode. It's so big that I call it combined mode, but it really is a good looking version. I think the only thing this is missing is a finish, a paint, right? It's kind of a gray plastic. The red is unpainted plastic. The white is unpainted. The only thing you have is this, the red and white stripes on the wings, which does look great. And then in carrier mode, we'll see some of this more white and blue, or white and yellow details. But it is pretty plain. And it does make me wonder, are they going to release a premium version of this? Just because that seems to be their MO. They do a lot of repaints. They did a ton of repaints of their Unicron and Primus. So I'm expecting there'll be a more premium version, obviously more expensive. All right, let's go over his articulation. And while we're here, I'll just show you the head a little close up. You do get a light up feature in here. So if you turn to the side, you'll see a little notch there to help you pull back this part. So just pull back the back of the head, and in here you'll find up the light up module. And it does take 2 LR621 batteries. I'm not even sure if I have the right batteries in it. I don't think I do. But it works, so I just used it anyway. So make sure you have this embedded in there. And then this is going to fit. It just fits around that ball joint right there. So get that lined up, squeeze that together, and then you can bring in a magnet. It comes with this magnet. And get that on, and there's the light up feature. It is very nice and bright. So I like that. I like how that looks. I do wish it was painted because I think the light would still shine through. I'll probably do a metallic blue paint, but I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good looking head sculpt. Let's go over the articulation. The head can go up and down, side to side, and rotate around. It does have a hinge, so you pull it up, and that'll give you additional down and up. So that's a nice thing. That's not for transformation. It's just there for articulation. So that's pretty cool because a big character like this needs to be able to look way down, which is nice. Shoulders rotating around on a ratchet joint. I think that ratchet is too tight. It's actually so tight that sometimes the vibrations knock off the wing. But you get all the way around, out to the side on a friction or a ratchet out to the side. You do have a butterfly built in. You can see that joint there. Again, only used for articulation. It's not necessary for transformation. So that's pretty nice. Usually on big characters like this, you don't get articulation like that. Rotation at the bicep. Double jointed elbow, full bend, nice cover down elbow piece. Very nice engineering, in my opinion, there. Hands can rotate in and out movement on the wrist. Fingers are individually articulated. They even put in ball joints at the base so you can splay out the fingers. Thumb is on a ball joint and a pin. You have 2 pins on each finger so you can curl them up into a fist. I mean, just absolutely wonderful hands. They really did a nice job on these. And we'll leave the hands open for now. Coming to the waist, you have a waist rotation is locked up because of this piece right here. If you were to remove that, you could articulate the waist. So if you unpeg this right here, it just requires lifting this up just a bit. You can get a waist rotation out of that. Not my favorite way to do business, but it works. He's got an ab crunch. You lift up on this. It's on a hinge, so you lift it up and back. That'll allow you to get all the way down to there. It is friction, and it does seem to hold. I don't know over time if that'll work, but it works right now. Combining the two, you can rotate. So I guess if you were going to rotate it, you could just lift it up a little bit. That'll give you more range. So it does work. It's just you got to be aware. This plugs in back here. The backpack piece plugs into the rear hip skirt. So you just have to unplug that before you do things. Like I mentioned, this wing, sometimes they like to pop off. It's pretty secure, but just because the level of tightness on the ratchets, sometimes it does pop off. Not a huge issue, I just want to mention it. Coming down to the waist, we get hip skirts here on the front side, and then back. The back one, again, is hindered by this backpack piece. Legs are on a double jointed drop down hinge. So you get it all the way up to there. Just not utilizing that, you can get this up to there. And then utilizing that additional joint, you can get it way up. So that's wonderful. If he's not standing straight, just make sure you have that inner one collapsed all the way. Thigh rotation, I forgot to mention, goes out to the side on a ratchet. That holds. This is a heavy figure. You know, there's die cast and stuff in it. So it needs to be able to hold this kind of weight. You have a double jointed knee. And I've seen pictures, it's very tight, but I've seen pictures where they have this pointing out. I think that's ugly. I don't know why you wouldn't, rotate that away. It is a tight joint, but you can just push that down. You don't need to have that exposed. I think it looks weird with it, but it is a fully articulated double jointed knee. It's just a very tight ratchet, so just be aware of that. You can hear the clicks in there. So it's very strong. I'm not sure. Like somebody asked me, is it sturdy? It feels sturdy, but some of these ratchets are so tight, it does worry me a little bit. I haven't had any issues. I've articulated this, separately, but Seems to work. Just be careful with those ratchets. They're very tight. Feet are on a drop down double jointed hinge. You get all the way out to there, back to there. Very strong and secure. Feet are on another double jointed hinge. That is not needed for transformation. That's just for this. It's just for the robot mode. So that is quite a bit of range. All right, now let's take a look at his accessories. So we get 2 of these blasters just done in gray plastic. I can't tell if it's painted or it's just a finish, like a paint infused plastic, but those look pretty nice. Slot here will tab into the hand or into the fist, the palm, that's the word I was looking for. And you can close the fingers around it. That works pretty well. You can also take this, fold this up, and right here on the side you'll see there's this tab and a slot for this peg, and you can store the gun right there. So that's pretty cool. We also get a axe or a pair of axes. Looks like this. I had it disassembled, but this will fit in his hands. Same kind of thing. There's a tab. And you can tab that in his hand. You can hold it pretty well. Really nice solid connections on those weapons. And same thing as the other one, we can store the axe. Come to the back here. You'll see a slot right there. Tab right here. We can just peg this in. Oops. Peg this into the back. So if you want to use one sword and one axe and one gun, you could do that and store the other 2 on the back. Another option you have here, not really accessory, but just a gimmick, you can pull forward on this little blue cockpit thing, rotate it, and then push it back in. And this will give you the look. If you want to put Autobot logo there, you can have this sitting lower. That's more cartoon accurate. Me personally, I like it up, but nice to have the option there. We also can take those weapons and they combine into one giant weapon. So fold up the handles. You're going to pull off one of the back of these guns. Then you'll plug the guns into each other. Then we'll take this, and you'll see it's slotted. So you want to get the slot inserted correctly like that. Same for this one. And now you have this giant weapon. Doesn't really hold it all that well. I guess you could kind of hold it here. It's a very big weapon. I'm not sure you'd want to display it like this, but you do have the option. All right, for size comparison, there it is next to the Magic Square version of Optimus Prime, and he towers over him. Optimus basically comes up to the middle of his hip skirt, maybe just right above here. And that works for me. You know, it's nice and big. Not so big that it won't fit on the shelf, but big enough that he looks, you know, menacing. Kind of looks like a combiner. He's not as big as a MP scale combiner. Speaking of size, I know that's a question for people. So to the top of the head, about 15.5 inches. To the top of the wings, 16 inches. So bigger than most figures in an MP collection other than combiners. All right, for another comparison, there it is next to the Fans Toys version of Skyfire and Sea Spray. And you can see he's taller than the Fans Toys Skyfire, which is the biggest figure in my collection in terms of non-combiner. And then here's a mini bot so you can see how he towers over him. All right, now let's get this guy transformed into his aircraft carrier mode. And transformation is relatively straightforward. There's a couple tricky bits just because tolerances are tight. But the thing is the instructions are kind of hard to follow. And there's actually some steps that I think are wrong in there. So I'll go over the transformation and point out where I think it is. But let's start with the arms. So lift up the arm, open up this panel. It suggests to rotate like this. Mine doesn't fit that way, so I have to fold it this way. And then it goes in, and then you can close up that panel. Bring the arm down, rotate it so you have the open side on this, and then collapse that down. Bring the arm forward a couple clicks, maybe 3 clicks, and that'll make sense later, but we want that kind of out of the way. All right, same on this side. Bring this in, rotate this around, flip this in, close up that panel, rotate, collapse, and then rotate the arm a couple clicks. Right now we're ready to work on this upper body. So we'll come to the top here. You're going to open up these panels. And you may need a spudger. Actually, I detached his wing, so I'm just going to set these aside. They like to fall off very easily. It's a little bit of a frustration. They don't fall off on their own, but if you're jostling the figure, it will come off. So if you have trouble opening up these panels on the top of his shoulders, just grab a spudger and you could pop that panel right here. I don't find it that hard, but if you need help, you can do that. All right, come to the front, back to the front, and we'll take care of this section. So unpeg the head, the neck piece from this. We're going to lift up on the waist ab crunch. Lift this up, and then once you have that up, we can bring this whole section down. And I want to show you from here so you can see how it's connected. It's here and here is where it's connected. So as you detach it, it's actually undoing those 2 tabs, those 2 clips. So bring the front section down like this, and we'll take care of this part here. So rotate these down, close up the panels around the neck. These panels will unpeg from the back here, so bring them up, out and up, and they just sit right here in the middle. Those will end up inside here, inside the chest. But first we want to take care of this. So this is a part in the manual that's kind of confusing, the instructions. So I'm going to try to show you up close. This has to be unpegged from the back here. So unpeg this back hip skirt, it just slides out on a slider. And then you're going to take this, unpeg it from the front. And this is on a double hinge. So you have to unpeg it and cording it down on the red double hinge. So it ends up down like this. So that's how you want it. Don't close this up yet, but eventually that's going to tab in. You'll see there's 2 little pegs on the hip, and this pegs into that. But don't do that right now because we got to move the legs around a little bit. All right, we're going to do the same thing on this side. Open this up, unpeg it from the front. And again, if you need a spudger for some help, do that. Bring this down. Make sure you put this all the way flat and then leave the hip skirt out. So it should end up like this. All right. Come back to the front. We'll take care of this nose cone section. So rotate this out, unpeg it from each other, fold them out. And on here, we're going to bring this out. The first time I did it, I had a hard time getting it over. You're just going to rotate it this way to get it through. And that will clip into here on this side. And then on this side, we can flip this out, rotate around, leave this open for a second. And bring that back together. And leave that there for now. We'll end up closing the blue cockpit here inside eventually. All right, so we're also going to fold in this blue cockpit piece. So flip that around, it just flips in. You'll see it's now inside here. Now we can fold everything away. So bring the arms in and rotate this up on the waist joint. You can notice it's still extended upwards. Bring the arms down on the ratchet joint until they fit in here. Like that. Like that. Head can come down and sit right between the arms, just like that. This will come over the top, and just leave this door open so you can see what you're doing. But this has to hinge down, and it's a little tricky to get that hinge down. But you need this to be perpendicular when you get it in here. There we go. So you want this double hinge facing up like this. So it's making an L. All right. And this should peg in 3 places. One peg in the front right there into the chest, one peg into the arms, and then one peg goes into the backpack right here. So there's 3 things. This is really kind of holding it all together. So hold this together. Again, make sure you have this collapsed down. Get the front in, get the middle and the back in. Make sure you got both sides. I didn't get this side. Okay, there we go. That's pretty firm in there. You can see peekaboo head there. Close that down. All right, now we'll collapse down the waist, the ab crunch. There's 2 pegs right here on this hip skirt that are going into slots on the arms. So as you bring this down, cording that in and make sure those tabs go into the arms. That really kind of holds everything in place. All right, so here's how we're looking. Pretty good. Come to the back here. We'll unpeg this from the backpack. There's 2 pieces here you're going to open up. If you have trouble, you can grab a spudger, but open these up. They'll tab together. Make sure you squeeze those together. These 2 pegs are going into these 2 slots here on the nose cone. So bring this all the way around, line that up, get it pegged in. That pegs in pretty securely. And then behind that, you take this. This will rotate up. Make sure you have this armature rotated properly, but that'll go up in there. And there's a tab down here on his butt that's going into as well. So it's 2 clips or 2 pegs that are holding it. And same with this one goes up and in and also attaches to the other one. And sorry about my camera, it's on a white background, but you could see how that came together. All right, so now let's work on the legs. All right, so first let's collapse up the feet so they're not on a ratchet. We can bring the legs inwards. We are going to collapse the legs down on this slider. So there we go. Slide this down. Just bring these out of the way. And they should both click into place. You'll hear it click. These will clip into the side of the thighs. So we can do that now. And also clip the legs together. Give that a really good squeeze. These can flip up into here. And then this will attach on the other side. Oh, and this came out. Okay. Now we can take care of the lower part of the legs. So come to here, we'll flip this out. And you might need a spudger or something, but we'll get out the toe, which you didn't even know was there. Flip this up and that'll flip in there. I said toe, I meant heel. We didn't even know that heel was there. All right, so that's looks there. Then we'll take this and rotate this around, flip this out. Let's keep the wing underneath there. Don't want that out. And same for this. Rotate this out, flip this around. And this is on a slider. You can see the sliding joint right here. So you do want to slide that out to give yourself some room to move this around. Otherwise it'll be too tight. All right, bring these down. And I didn't see this in the instructions, so I'm not sure if it's meant to be attached here or not in this mode. Let's just check it. So right here, there's a clip. You can fold that out, and that will kind of hold the feet together with the bottom of the legs. Actually, now that I'm seeing it, I think it is meant to do it in this mode. So go ahead and get those clips in. There's even a space on the bottom side of this panel. So yeah, that definitely goes in there. Bring that back in. And sorry about the backtrack there. Click that back in. Click that into there. Clip that into there. bring this over the top with the puzzle piece tab, bring this over the top, and attach it to that tab we just had. And then back here, you'll see this is kind of floppy. Well, that's because a part goes here. So now we're going to put all the weapons on here. The weapons actually, not only are they they store, but they're functional. So take apart the axe. This piece will go right here, like that. And this piece will go right here with the quote-unquote gun side facing forward. This tabs in underneath. And this will clip in right here. Kind of covers up the red of the nose cone, which is kind of smart, you know. It's, storage, but also functional. And then we'll take the gun, actually, sorry, this side, and the gun will store right here. So you got everything stored there, and it actually looks pretty good. And go ahead and do the same thing on this side. Actually, and you're going to take this piece here. I haven't seen any way to stow it in the robot mode or anything, so I didn't bother with it. But you'll see there's a peg and a tab, and those are going to fit right here. So get those lined up, tab that in, and I think this goes this way. All right, there is Boardcon in carrier mode, and I do think this looks pretty good. You got the yellow paint for the markings, white paint for the runway, white paint up here. It does say 78 right there. A little hard to read, but right there. There's also a 78 here. This is a US-based aircraft carrier, although it's not real, but it does seem a little bit plain in terms of the details. I think they'll probably release a premium version. I'm sure they will. This is the probably a tuned version. It'll probably be like a toy version, but overall, I like it. I like the look of the weapons on there. I love the storage of the axe parts. This is functional. Overall, I just like the look of it. It does have boosters back here, or whatever you want to call them. You can rotate this radar dish or whatever around. And yeah, overall, I think it's a pretty good looking carrier. And for size comparison, there it is next to the MP-10 Optimus Prime. And here's where things, kind of don't work, but that's the nature of the cartoon, right? The scale was all over the place. You're not going to put truck on here. However, if you bring in like a Blockies or, a Dr. Wu figure, it might work. These are the Blockies Defenders, and those kind of work with this. So if you've got a bunch of these, the Jets, maybe the Seekers or whatever, although this is a good guy and they're the bad guys, but I think you could make a nice display out of either Dr. Wu or Blockies Defender versions. All right, now let's get Boardcon transformed into jet mode. Go ahead and remove the axe handles. Remove the guns from the side. We do have to remove this, unfortunately, and there's no storage point, at least as far as I can tell, in the other mode. So I just fold it down and set that aside. But now we're ready to transform. Actually, also take these and set those aside too. All right, now we're ready to transform. You can leave these back here because that's where we're going to end up anyways. Take these, fold those out, rotate around, and tab that in. I think I said rotate around, but you don't need to. Just rotate that down, tab that in, tab that in. All right. Or then we'll remove this from here. So open this up. We'll unpeg this from each other as well as from the front. Bring this down, and this will just stay this way. Slide that back in, tab it into the side, and we'll end up opening this up, but we need a minute to do that. So same on this one. unpeg it from there, bring this around, slide that back in, and tab it to the side. It'll end up becoming supports for the wings. Actually attaches to the wings. All right, you can leave these here. Come to this, and we're going to undo this. So unpeg these sections from the front. And obviously these are the wings. Bring these around. Rotate this forward. This will fold into this. So you got to get these out of the way. Bring down this section. Close up these. Tab that back in. Remember, there's the tabs on his butt to get this in. And once you have that down, you can reattach these wings. So bring this up. There we go. And then same for this one. Bring this around, rotate that around, and tab this into the side of that panel. So it should look like that. All right, come to this side now. All right. Now we can open up this, bring this down, bring this out. For the wings, you're going to flip out the wing tip. And then same thing on this side. Flip this up, flip this down, flip out the tip, and flip out this wing tip. All right. This came detached. I'll reattach it in a minute. Got to get the nose cone out. So grab your, not this one, grab a spudger, flip this up, rotate this around, bring that back down. And now we can get all this reattached. Make sure everything's clipped in. These hip skirts came detached from the legs. That's why it's coming loose. So just make sure these are clipped into the side. That'll kind of hold everything together. And then get these wings attached here. These are really tight, by the way. All right. Come to the bottom. We can open up the landing gear. So right here and right here. And if you need a spudger to get these open, just grab a spudger. And then on the front, there's two landing gear right here. So again, use a spudger to get in there. Get that down. And there's one more you can get out here. Just pull this. You might need a spudger, but get that out. All right, there is Boardcon in jet mode, and definitely the weakest of the three modes, but it's still not bad for a triple changer. You have the landing gear. It rolls fine going this direction, but when you go back, these two especially start to collapse in the middle. But it does roll on those wheels. Here's the back. It does kind of look like boosters back here. You can open up the cockpit here and play peekaboo, and maybe you could even put a figure in there, right there. But yeah, overall not too bad. We can store the weapons, which is kind of one, it makes it look more accurate, but two, just weapon storage. I always love weapon storage. You can take the guns here, and these will plug in underneath the wings. You'll see a slot right there. So get that tabbed in. And this is what I was talking about with the landing gear. They tend to collapse in. Then we'll take these, and these will tab in. And then we'll take the X handle, and we can tab that in right back here. All right, there you go. There's the jet mode with all the weapons stored. That looks pretty good. I think this is the mode where you get the most closest to the tune, although the shape of the jet's not quite there. Now, I'm not sure if you could store this or not. I don't think it's meant to, but if you open this up, there's a whole lot of space in that cavity. And you can kind of cheat it. I don't know. Maybe cheat this in here. Let's see. Yeah, looks like you can cheat it. So you can kind of store that in there. Again, I don't know if that's meant to be, but all right, for size comparison, there it is next to the MP10 Optimus Prime. You can see it is a very big jet. Obviously, it's not going to fit inside him, but that's fine. I think this scale works. In the show, they often drove inside him. In fact, all of the aerial bots would fit inside him. You're never going to get an MP scaled Broadside that does that. So this is a good enough size, in my opinion, for alt mode. All right, and here's perhaps a more useful comparison with the Takara Tomy Masterpiece Skyfire. This is my LEC custom, so it's got the cell shading on it. But you can see they're about the same length. Boardcon is a little bit longer, a little bit shorter in height than this guy due to the backpack. Wingspan is definitely bigger on Boardcon. So overall, it sizes pretty well with Skyfire. So final recommendations on the 01 Studio Boardcon. I'm going to give this a 4 to 5 and recommend it. Overall, I think this figure is pretty cool. It really looks good in robot mode. Transformation's relatively straightforward. It's a couple little tricky bits, but overall, pretty simple for a triple changer. And both of the alt modes, I think, look good enough. A little more detail would have been nice, but I think the carry mode looks good enough. It does have some parts forming, so it's a little bit of a minus. But overall, I think it's pretty nice. And the jet mode, although ugly, is very accurate to the cartoon. The accessories also pretty nice. It comes with the guns and the axe, so you get everything you need. Does have the light up feature here with the eyes, so that's kind of cool. You really get everything that you would want. I think the only thing that's really missing from this is paint, right? There's not much paint on it. It does feel less premium because of that, especially because of all the gray. But I have a feeling that was to keep the price point down, right? If you paint this thing, it's going to be really expensive. But that's really it. I do recommend this. Now, we know the Fans Toys is coming, so that might be a different alternative. I know that's going to be way more expensive than this one, but also it's going to be fully painted. So that's another option for you. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.